This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.
Welcome to The Wire, Agent Edition, the week in real estate presented in digestible bites. Hold on while our AI hosts take us on another ride through this week's top real estate headlines.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Deep Dive. We are so glad you could join us again this week as we unpack all the latest news and trends you need to know as real estate agents.
It's great to be back. Looking forward to digging in as always.
Well, you know our mission here. It's to give you all the information you need to not just survive, but to really thrive in today's market. And we've got a lot to cover today.
Yeah, sounds like it. What have you got for us?
We're going to be talking about agent success. We've got some new developments on the scams front and, of course, the ever-present conversation about commissions.
All hot topics, for sure.
So, to kick things off, I thought we could dive into this profile of Abraham Sarway. This 26-year-old agent at Douglas Elliman closed over $100 million in deals last year.
Wow, that's impressive, especially at that age.
Seriously. So naturally, we have to ask, what's his secret? What can we all learn from him?
Right, because those kind of numbers don't just happen by accident.
Exactly. So one thing that really stood out to me was his approach to choosing his market. He went against the grain a bit, Instead of just focusing on those high-price listings, he headed to the South Bronx.
Interesting. Not exactly known for luxury properties.
Right. But he saw the potential there. A ton of new development happening, maybe less competition than some of the more established, glamorous markets.
So he was thinking outside the box, looking for opportunity where others might not.
Exactly. And you know what? That early success, those quick wins, it really built momentum for him. The article talked a lot about the importance of that momentum.
Makes sense. Success breeds success, as they say.
And another really interesting aspect of his approach was his emphasis on data. He uses data to build confidence both for himself and for his clients. There's this great quote in the article from Mike Simonson, the founder of Altos Research. He says, "Data is an antidote to fear."
I love that. So true.
Sarway really knows his numbers, and that lets him have those informed conversations with his clients. He can advise them effectively, even tell them when he doesn't think a purchase is a good idea. And that builds trust in the long run.
Absolutely. Clients want an agent who's knowledgeable and who they can trust to guide them through the process.
Right. But, beyond the data and the strategic market choices, he also really stresses those fundamentals, those daily habits. He's a big believer in cold calling, door knocking. He tells his new agents that their clients aren't sitting around worried about the agent's problems. They just want results. Yeah. It's that consistent effort that pays off.
Right. Back to basics. Can't argue with that. It's about putting in the work and building those relationships.
Exactly. And it's really interesting. We can connect Sarway's success with some of the broader market predictions we've been seeing lately, particularly from Ricky Carruth. He has this pretty optimistic outlook for 2025, He thinks it could be a big year for real estate agents.
Yeah. He does seem to have a knack for going against the grain a bit. What's he basing that optimism on?
Well, he's looking at a few factors. One is demographics. He points out that you've got all these people born in the 90s now entering their prime home buying years.
A whole new generation of buyers coming in.
Right. And at the same time, he sees all these potential sellers who are holding on to those super low interest rates from a few years ago. They're waiting for the right time to list.
So he's seeing a potential buildup of both buyers and sellers just waiting for the right conditions.
Exactly. And he thinks, at some point, whether it's because rates moderate or because new financial products come out, we're going to see this huge surge in inventory.
That pent-up supply finally hitting the market.
Right. And that would obviously be huge for agents. But, Carruth, he also has this really interesting perspective on how navigating tough markets can actually make you a stronger agent in the long run.
I think that's something a lot of agents who've been through a few cycles would agree with.
Yeah. He built his business during the Great Recession. So he's speaking from experience. He says those who can adapt and learn and persevere, they come out of tough times with really valuable skills and resilience.
It's like a trial by fire.
Exactly. And he even suggests that downturns can be opportunities for growth. To really hone your strategies and come back stronger than ever.
It's a really important mindset shift. Instead of fearing the downturn, use it as a chance to build a more robust, resilient business.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But there's one more thing I wanted to mention about Carruth's predictions. He's really big on technology, but not in the way you might think.
How so?
He's not talking about just passively generating leads online. He's talking about using tech, social media, Zillow, even just the good old-fashioned phone, to have those real conversations, to build authentic relationships.
It's about using technology to facilitate real human connection, not replace it.
Absolutely. Picking up the phone, having those face-to-face meetings, really understanding what your clients need, that's what builds trust and ultimately wins you business.
Definitely. All right, so we've talked about the positive, the success stories, but what about the threats? What's on your radar?
Well, unfortunately, the scams are getting more and more sophisticated. I came across this really unsettling account from a luxury real estate agent who actually got caught up in a listing scam. And it's a reminder that no one is immune to these things.
That's scary. You would think especially experienced agents, those dealing with high-value properties, would be less susceptible to scams. What made this one so convincing?
So it started out pretty normal. An inquiry about selling land. The scammers seemed to know their stuff. They knew details about the property, even that a previous agent hadn't managed to sell it, claimed to be living out of state. Even used information from public records to back up their identity.
Wow, so they really did their homework.
Oh, yeah. They used a Hotmail email address with the seller's name. The phone number wasn't listed, but, the agent didn't think too much of it at the time. Especially if you're thinking, okay, maybe this is a private client.
So everything seemed legitimate at first glance, which is what makes these scams so dangerous.
Absolutely. And so the communication continued, calls, texts, emails. They negotiated the price, commission, timelines, even signed a contract electronically. The listing went live on the MLS, and then boom, just a few hours later, the agent gets a call from the real owner.
Oh, no.
The real owner had discovered the fake listing and was like, what is going on? Apparently, this wasn't even the first time it had happened. Someone had tried this before, but the previous agents hadn't reported it.
Oh, wow. That's really worrying. That's why it's so important to report these incidents. If no one reports them, the scammers can just keep going and target other agents.
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to protect each other. And, the article highlighted why land transactions can be particularly vulnerable to these kinds of scams.
Yeah, I can see that. Why would that be?
Well, often there's no physical property to show, no need for those in-person meetings, which makes it easier for someone to pretend to be the owner from afar. And the verification processes for vacant land might not be as strict as for a regular house.
It creates a loophole that scammers can exploit. So what can agents do to protect themselves?
Be vigilant. Be very, very vigilant. The article had some really clear red flags to watch out for. For example, has the same property been listed multiple times recently? You got to do your due diligence, check the property history, watch out for phone numbers you can't trace back, email addresses that look a little off or don't match the owner's name. And be wary if they're using public records or MLS data to try to make themselves seem more legitimate.
So much good information there. Really important to pay attention to those details.
And remember, sometimes these scams aren't discovered for months, which can have serious consequences for the agent, both financially and for their reputation.
Absolutely. So what are some concrete steps agents can take to protect themselves?
Always verify the seller's identity and do it through multiple channels. Ask for a photo ID, cross-check it with county records, city records, whatever you need to do. And if the seller is pushing for a really quick closing, no in-person meetings, be very cautious.
Yeah, that sense of urgency, that pressure to move quickly can be a big red flag.
Exactly. It's like they're trying to rush you before you can do your due diligence. Oh, and the article also mentioned that there are actually services out there that monitor MLS listings and online activity to try and catch these fraudulent listings.
That's good to know. Something to look into for sure.
For sure. All right, ready to switch gears. I want to talk about something that's always top of mind for agents, the commission conversation.
Yeah.
I was looking at this Arise Media webinar they did, Owning the Commission Conversation. Really insightful stuff.
Yeah, it's such a critical topic, especially now with all the changes and questions swirling around. What did you find most interesting?
Well, one of the panelists, James Dwiggins, he made a really interesting point about cooperative compensation. You know that traditional model where the seller's agent and the buyer's agent split the commission?
Yeah.
He thinks it's a risk,
Yeah.
especially with all the legal challenges happening right now. He says the industry needs to be prepared to move away from that model.
Mm-hmm.
And he really emphasized that buyer's agents need to get better at explaining their value
Yeah.
because that automatic, the seller pays situation might be changing.
It's a wake-up call for the industry. For a long time, the buyer agent's role and value were sort of taken for granted. Now, with more direct conversations about fees on the horizon, agents need to be ready to clearly articulate what they bring to the table.
Exactly. And, another panelist, Michael Hickman, he stressed the importance of really understanding your client's needs, their goals, and also the need for collaboration between agents, especially now that commission information might not be as readily available online. He says agents need to prove their worth by saving clients time, money, and hassle, by mitigating risks, by offering expertise that clients can't just Google.
It's about shifting into more of an advisory role, being a trusted guide and problem solver for your clients.
Exactly. And Lisa Nguyen, she offered some really valuable insights into the current market, the need to manage client expectations, explaining why homes might be taking longer to sell, why we're not seeing as many multiple offer situations. She emphasized the importance of negotiation skills, crafting strong offers. But she also pointed out that for some buyers, affordability is a big issue right now. They're struggling with higher interest rates, property taxes, insurance. It's hard to factor in those agent fees on top of everything else.
Absolutely. It's a tough reality that agents need to be sensitive to. As the cost of homeownership rises, buyers are naturally going to be more careful about every expense, including commission.
For sure. And finally, we heard from Joe Rand. He made the point that the industry has kind of downplayed how complex buying and selling a home really is. He thinks those listing presentations, they need to evolve. They should be more like in-depth consultations, where the agent is asking questions, really listening, and trying to understand the client's unique situation, not just giving a generic sales pitch.
It's about moving away from that transactional one-size-fits-all approach to a more personalized, client-centered experience.
And what's really interesting? We've talked a lot about commission compression, but Ricky Carruth actually thinks commissions might go up in the current environment.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. Most people are expecting them to go down.
I know, right? But his argument is that as more homeowners try to sell without an agent, they're going to realize how much work and expertise is actually involved. He compares a seller trying to represent themselves to a brand new, totally inexperienced agent.
Makes you think.
Right. And his point is that the value of an experienced agent will become even more obvious, and sellers will be willing to pay for that expertise.
So the surprising insight is that we might actually see upward pressure on commissions, driven by a greater appreciation for what experienced agents bring to the table.
Exactly. It's definitely something to think about, and maybe even bring up in your conversations with potential clients.
Absolutely. It challenges the assumption that commissions are just going to keep shrinking, and it offers a more optimistic outlook for those agents who can demonstrate their value.
So what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners today?
I think it comes down to this. Be proactive. Focus on showing your clients your value every step of the way. Abraham Sarway, his success wasn't a fluke. It was about strategy, consistency, and a deep understanding of his market. And we can all learn from that. But we also have to be aware of the threats. The scams are getting more sophisticated, and we need to be vigilant.
Absolutely. Protect yourself, protect your clients.
And finally, with commissions, being able to articulate your value, being adaptable, being open to new models, that's going to be crucial for your success.
Being informed, being adaptable, being valuable. Those are the keys
to success and to staying ahead of the curve.
So there you have it, folks. Another deep dive into the most important issues facing you, our dedicated real estate agents. We talked about winning strategies, we talked about the dangers of scams, and we explored the ever-evolving commission conversation.
As always, the takeaway is to stay informed, keep learning, and never stop focusing on providing real value to your clients.
As you go about your week, ask yourself, are you using data to your advantage? Are you doing everything you can to protect yourself and your clients from fraud? And are you ready to confidently explain your value to every potential client?
Here's a final thought to ponder. In a market where information is everywhere, your ability to provide clarity, to build trust, and to deliver exceptional results, that's what will set you apart.
So well said. Thank you so much for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon with more insights to help you stay ahead of the game.
If you're interested in your own personalized edition of The Wire, please visit us at thewire.fm/custom. We offer market-specific podcasts with all the latest real estate news and market analysis delivered to you weekly or monthly. Own your market with a personalized edition of The Wire, the week in real estate. Thank you for listening.